Why is your camera off preference causing tension in meetings? Are we confusing looking engaged with being engaged? Is the self-view box the most dangerous invention in human history? Tonight, we're going to move beyond simple etiquette to unpack the psychological, social, and design choices that quietly shape our digital culture. From Zoom fatigue and the Instagramification of meetings to the true meaning of human presence online, let's find out what really is carrying connection. Welcome to The Rundown. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Rundown. Good to see you all here. I hope that you're joining us not only on YouTube, but you're also over in Mukana. If you go to officehours.global, you can find out how to join us on Mukana. That's where you can chat with us. You can put your chat, your thoughts, your questions into Mukana. We can bring those up and they can contribute to our conversation. We're also keeping an eye on YouTube, so you can throw them in over there on the YouTube chat as well. I have assembled an amazing, it's almost like an Avengers-like panel for you this evening. Just an amazing group of people. Look at these happy, fun faces. We've got some usuals. We've got Dave here and Lois and Tony and Sky and Tamara and Paul Walhus. Good to have you here, sir. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to waste no time. We're going to jump right in to CES. Well, there's other news also. So we are indeed in CES land time, whatever you want to call it, because boy, is there a lot going on over at CES. I need to bring up my thingy dingy so I can turn the thingy dingy. My thingy is gone. I can't find my thingy dingy.
Hey, David, what's CES anyway?
What's CES?
Computer Electronics Show.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah,
CES
it's
is the
annual
Consumer Electronics Show. But it doesn't actually stand for that, does it?
Yeah. Well, they don't like you using that. They like you just say CES. That's the official trademark. So, yeah. But it's a chance to see technology, or at least home use and consumer stuff that's in development or ready to go or is being tested at CES to see if people like it. And a lot of things that look amazing at CES turn out not to be amazing, like the electric fork, I think, from years ago.
Oh, I love the electric fork. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So do you have one?
No, I don't.
No, we don't, you see. And this is you can't, I love Apple stores to see how many people walk out with a bag. And then I go over down the mall a bit and I look at a clothing shop, people are going and coming out, no bag. So CES is like that. You can go in, learn about things, but you're not probably going to buy a fridge that speaks.
You're probably not. But really the big news at this year's CES was robotics. Everybody and their cousin had a robot to launch. I think one of the biggest pieces of news was out of Boston Dynamics. I feel a special kinship with Boston Dynamics because I lived in Boston for 25 years, though I was never there at Boston Dynamics. So I'm not sure that I actually get any credit or if it counts. But they launched their Atlas next gen prototype. And this is the robot that is going to be in our homes, they say. So just look at this thing walk. Look how naturally it walks. I mean, that's just, it's got swagger. It's
a video game walk there, right there. That's a video game walk.
Just crazy. Now, this one right here is not the one that we're going to get in our homes. That comes a little later. Let's see if I can jump ahead to that one. But this was all over. Now, the one that in this video, here it is. So this is the one we're going to get in our home. They were not demoing this one live. They were still working on it, apparently. but they had a few of them on the show floor actually that I saw. The one that they're showing off here had a human behind it doing the manipulation. But I don't know. Are you all excited for a robot in your home? I kind of am.
I'd rather have a cat.
But a cat can't lift 100 pounds over its head.
But it could curl up in my lap and purr.
That's true.
I just don't think so.
I'm not entirely sure what, for an able-bodied person, I'm not entirely sure what the draw of this is.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the video you're showing because it says it operates between -4 Fahrenheit and 105 Fahrenheit. And I'm thinking, what about below Fahrenheit?
What do you mean below Fahrenheit?
Well, -4 is not very cold at all.
Oh,
I mean,
In Fahrenheit, it is.
if it's going to shovel my walk, it better be able to go up in 30 below. That's all I'm saying.
So one of the cool things about this is it can swap its own batteries. It walks over to the home base, whatever, and it swaps. It takes one battery out, it puts it back, it puts it in the wall, takes the other one, pops it in. I don't know. What's your takeaway from all of this?
Who here has a Roomba?
Did you see the new Roomba? The new one has legs.
What?
Ew.
It's a spider?
The new room. I don't know if it's Roomba, but the new
What did I say?
vacuum
You
from
up.
CES has legs. I swear to goodness. What would you call it? AI vacuum?
Call it Roomba. Roomba 2.
No, but it's not a Roomba.
Son of Roomba. First blood. I don't know.
Wait, let's see if we can find it. So this is the best robots. See, look, there it is. Wait, am I showing it to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Roborock. This is a vacuum, but it has legs so it can climb upstairs.
Oh.
But it's inches away from the floor. How's it going to vacuum anything?
No, it goes down. It sits down on its tushy and it vacuums.
Uh-huh.
It's like a toddler. It stands up.
Right. And it's only going to
I
cost
have an acquaintance that-
$500.
I have an acquaintance of mine that does have the lawnmower version of that. And he is of a certain age and bad knees. And the patterns that he gets out there, I think, are calling aliens from space. I'm sure it's calligraphy for help me, I'm trapped.
Look, we have to remember that what's the percentage of stuff from CES that never sees the light of day? But this the Boston Dynamics robots, Spot is already in thousands of warehouses and shipyards and other dangerous places. That's their dog-like robot. So I think they're coming. The robots are
What
coming.
do you
Tim.
want your robot to do? That's my
There it
question for you,
is.
David.
Because
Like,
the
what-
robots I'm seeing in the Amazon warehouse are stunning, but they look nothing like humans.
Right.
So that's an interesting conversation about robotics, right? Is why do we have this need to have the robot look like us?
Yeah,
when in
that's my
fact
question.
it could be so much more efficient and effective if it didn't look like us.
I do not need a toaster with a face. I'm just
Right.
saying.
So the
My
Boston,
favorite robot is from Interstellar, which only is made of 3 pieces. And it seems to be able to pick up a person too. So I just think, that's the 200-pound robot I want to have in my garage.
I mean, for me, I did not. I have an Alexis that just sits in a box. Like, I can't even get myself to just plug that in. I don't like the idea that it's listening to me. I just can't imagine having anything bigger than that. Like, there's so many things tracking everything that we do. This is like just an extension of that in a way more personal way, and I'm not sure I want it.
I do have training wheels. The training wheels are me talking to Claude every day now. So I have become tech technified.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony, jump in.
I see this as a disruption, and
In a
and
good
the
way or a
reason-
bad way?
Well, it can be both, but based on the heart of humankind right now, I see it as a disruption in a bad way. If you think about all of the services and resources that are now going away for people, and you look at this possible robot, I see it as a means to take away labor, manual labor. And so once manual labor has been removed from our society, the people who used to do manual labor, and a lot of small businesses are based on being able to do manual labor, where do these people seek employment? Well, you say, well, maybe they would go into do something in training or education. Those resources are now being defunded. So what happens with, and I'm just going to say regular people that are not able to go to college and are not able to do manual labor? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question.
There was a recent interview with Amazon who wants to make their they're already using a lot of robots in their not factories, warehouses, and that's going to grow and grow and grow. And the answer that they gave to that very question is, well, the robots are going to need maintenance. The robots are going to need upkeep. The robots are going to need to be that the physical work will not end. It'll simply shift, right? Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, Tony, we're getting old. No, well, maybe you aren't. I am. I'm 81. I'm going to need one of those exoskeletons, that you can strap on, and to keep me moving past. Maybe when I get to be like 98 or something, I'll need that, and that's like 17 years from now. And then robots. I'm looking forward to the day when I have a robot to help me do stuff. Like today, I was out in the woods cleaning up trash. If I had a robot, man, what I could do on this property, on this land. If you really want to see a great take on CES, Jeffrey Powers, who Tony interviewed recently on his show, has the best of CES. He's got like all the robots that shows him being chased by a robot dog. It shows a dancing robot dancing around and doing somersaults. He's got some great stuff. So you just go to youtube.com/geekazine, GEEKAZINE. Great stuff. He's got like 4 hours of content on CES.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
I realize though that he is also the same one that has really embraced. Is it the Sonos? Is that the animatron or the? You can put me back on in the group chat.
Sonos
thing.
is the speaker system.
Okay, it's not. Okay, so what is it that creates an image of you that you can put yourself on Mars and breathe
Sora.
without oxygen? Sora, Gesundheit. And so Jeffrey does a lot of Sora. So
Yeah,
now
he does.
I am now finding myself either not looking at his thing because I can't tell if it's real because everything he does looks real, but he's not really real. And so now the trust factor with Jeffrey is now waning. And I don't know where that fits into this conversation.
That's interesting.
It is, but again, why do many things go away? Because we've had too much of them.
You know who's been all over Sora is iJustine. I mean, she's been crazy on Sora with her pig, and she's one of the hosts of CES this year, the CES live stream this year. So it's interesting that more of someone in an inauthentic way makes us perhaps
Well, the question
not-
is trust.
yeah.
And that's the conflict between Tony and Paul. You know, I think, Paul, you're going to need a robot to choose which microphone will you use today.
Yeah, it'll help me choose mics. I did an interview with iJustine in 2007. She's always been ahead of the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A
Tony
robot
and
will never replace Mickey for choosing microphones on the day of.
let me get Tony and then Lois in.
So I just want to say that a little bit of pushback to Paul. You know, a person, you could hire a person to do the lawn work, and that would, you know, give somebody a chance to make some income. I think I look at this whole situation in terms of the already issue of disparity in terms of technology, and the digital divide is even more so, I think, exacerbated with this type of technology, because there are going to be people who are not able to afford the robot, regardless to whatever price it is, or how reasonably priced they end up becoming. And we all know that eventually, when they first come out, they're going to be sky high, and then the prices will drop. But I will say that there are going to be people who will never be able to afford the robots. And so I just think that, as a person who loves technology, I just think that it's important for us to think about those people who won't have access.
Fair enough. Lois.
I think it'll make more jobs, but that's
Hold on one
just my
second, Paul. Let
opinion.
me just get Lois in.
So you asked why have it in human form instead of having it as an efficient robotic form for whatever it's doing. And I would say that the efficient robotic form makes more sense if it is doing the same thing all the time. If it's on a line of making cars, and it does the same thing all the time. But I think what this is supposed to be is in a human form so that it can interact with people, like maybe protecting a child and letting it take a walk by itself with holding onto the hand of this human. But I don't think, I think that's going to backfire, because if you have something that is obviously mechanical and it's trying to be a human, then you have people who will distrust humans more. I think the closer that they get that robot to looking and acting like a human, the more trouble we are going to be in.
There's fascinating. Andre is saying that in Japan, they tested to use paralyzed people steering robots to serve in restaurants. That's so interesting. So giving people who are paralyzed a new way to work by being able to control the robots. And Peter is sharing that the idea of able-bodied, that these robots can be really helpful in caregiving. And Lois, to your point, I think that in that respect, I'm almost afraid to use the term human form, but having a softer, more human form, looking like us, is a feature, not a bug, because it's a comfort to the people that the robot is serving, as opposed to an R2D2 looking thing that we have trouble relating to in any meaningful way. Does that make sense or no?
Yeah, it sort of does, though R2D2 is the wrong thing to choose, because we all know what that is. And I would certainly love to have a robot that looked like R2D2 more than one that looked like
C3PO.
You say it, I can't.
Yeah, C3PO. Yeah. Paul, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just think that right now I don't need a robot. I can go out and rake leaves and do stuff in the yard, but I see the day when I'm going to need a robot to do stuff for me, to do stuff like that. Maybe multiple robots.
Right.
And it's just something. I live in the shadow of SpaceX, Starlink, Tesla. They're 8 minutes from me, from where I live. I go there every day and I talk to these guys that are building robots, that are building satellites, that are building rockets, and I just see a world where, with Neuralink, for example, you'll be able to directly connect to a robot, and you won't even have to tell the robot what to do. You'll just think it.
And that's already happening in certain ways, especially with exoskeletons, as you were mentioning. All right, last 2 words on this, Dave and Sky.
Lois brought up, it's helper. It's a helper. It would be very nice to have a helper. I'm a guy who survived surgery because 3 nurses decided to defy the doctor, and I wouldn't have survived if they had not done that. A caring robot is going to follow orders. He's not going to be feeling for me. I don't want one walking my kid, because my kid needs to have time with me, and walking with them or throwing a ball or being at a concert with them is what we do as humans. So if robots start to do that stuff, we are now less connected to other humans, and we will be vegetables. I think Wall-E kind of showed what would happen if we were all just taken off the planet because it was unlivable, and then we get everything done for us by machines and robots. And what are those people up to? They're sitting around being entertained and drinking their milkshakes. And I think, Paul, if it comes to the point where they're only feeding you milkshakes, I hope they smile at you, because these robots don't care. They just don't, and they can't.
Sky,
I just hope they're chocolate milkshakes.
Sky, go ahead.
The situation is that I've had the opportunity of being in parts of the world that are under, not underprivileged, but under the challenged.
Underdeveloped.
Well, okay, we could say underdeveloped, but they've got a quality of life that I will challenge us to. But anyway, the equipment-wise question, to Tony's point earlier, was, yes, you could bring in a bulldozer and a backhoe and do the job of construction in a day, but then you are now depleting 20 humans the opportunity of working and doing the same thing they could do with hand shovels and picks. And I actually physically saw that happen. And so the choices that we're making, and so this is, and again, back to the comment earlier about, oh, we'll never be able to afford it. It's like, I remember the Motorola brick, and then the Motorola flip phone, and then the whatever from Sweden, whatever that phone was. And now how many of these are out and about? So the democratization of what can we afford? Again, where do you think all these used phones go to? They go to that part of the world that are getting them second and third hand. And I watched it happen in Port-au-Prince. I watched it happen in the Philippines. So that's where, things are going to change. But the human factor, I think, is the question I also have is, how can we keep the human, and to Dave, your point, keep the human component of this conversation helping each other?
Beautiful. Friends, we're leaving the robots behind. We're putting the robots aside for the moment because they already know everything there is to know about us. So why not give them just a little more information, like all of our health data? ChatGPT is launching ChatGPT Health. Now, I actually think that this is coming from a good place. I think that OpenAI knows that everybody asks ChatGPT medical questions. When you get scan results, when you get lab results, first thing many people do is throw them into ChatGPT and say, tell me about this, explain this to me. So they figure, I guess, since everyone's doing this anyway, let's capitalize on this and make it a better experience. So ChatGPT Health, a dedicated experience that securely brings your health information and ChatGPT's intelligence together to help you feel more informed, prepared, and confident navigating your health. This is a dedicated health experience. It is, you have to be invited. I know that Tamara and I have both joined the wait list. I have not heard anything yet from OpenAI about whether we're going to get into this. It is in its own space in ChatGPT so that it's stored, all the data there is stored separately. It's within that space. Who's ready to give their blood work to ChatGPT, Sky?
I've already been involved with Claude because I trust that as an infrastructure. I trust that people group that are managing that system. And I am now creating a digital assistant that I can't afford. But for $20 a month, it's now listening to my individual conversations because I've got memory turned on. It's now going, oh, these are your aspirations. And you've got a goal to do this by that many years. And now that I'm going to the gym, it's keeping track of how much I'm exercising. And I can now ask it because I can't read my own handwriting and I can't spell. So I can just talk to my digital assistant, and it is physically becoming a digital assistant. Am I thinking less? Am I becoming less? I couldn't spell before.
But you're okay with the how personal is sharing your health data with it? That
again, that's back to 20-year ago question. You don't think they already know whoever they are? And we've already determined that they have all of our information, whether we want to give it to them or not. So I want to take advantage of the highway. Do I pay for all of the highway? No. Communally, we are paid, we do taxes. Do I want a fire department? Yeah. And communally, we make that happen. So again, this is me. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure that makes it a good thing, but I agree with you that that is definitely inevitable.
Again, all tools can be used as weapons,
right,
as Tony pointed out.
Yep.
And this is, to me, I am making a psychological choice, or sorry, a philosophical choice of whom I'm giving this data to. Now, will it be scraped and sold to for the betterment and more money? I don't know. Each of those people that are running Anthropic started out with $1.6 billion in their pocket. Do they need my money? I don't know.
Tamara.
I actually think this is really important that they're doing this. And the reason I say this is that people are asking questions already, and this is putting it into an experience that is health related. Like right now, if you ask health questions, it will say, hey, I'm not a doctor, which is great, but it'll still go and answer those questions for you. And I have to be really honest with you. I've been dealing with a lot of different doctors, both for me and for people in my family. And having that as a resource has actually been really helpful, because getting a doctor on the phone is actually not as easy. And sometimes my results have come out 3 or 4 weeks before I get to discuss it with a medical professional. So I think that this is actually something that, as much as I hate giving my information out to people, it's been a great resource. And I think them taking a stance to say we're going to make it a medical experience where we're going to prioritize it that way, I think is really important, because I do think people are using it this way, because getting in to see practitioners and getting people on the phone even to discuss these tests that have been ordered is just not happening fast enough.
Lois.
I like the idea. I always worry about where is the information coming from. So if I get a new drug and I want to know, okay, what is its side effects? What is its interactions? What should I look out for? Well, I can read that huge document that it has with all the technical terms that I don't understand. Or I can go and ask, somebody, what about this drug? what I usually do is I go to one of the medical schools, something that ends in .edu. And then I look at their documentation and I read their stuff. And usually it's readable, it's more readable than what you get from the drug company. But if I were to just go to a generic AI and ask them about that drug, where are they getting their information? And so we never know. And that's where the leap of faith comes in. I think it's wonderful to have resources that are less expensive than making a doctor's appointment. But yeah, buyer
Yeah.
beware, maybe?
Tony.
I think it's a good thing. Incidentally, I want to say that I need robot assistance right now, but it doesn't diminish what I was saying in terms of the disparity. I think that this is a good thing. I think that it is something that will afford anybody and everybody who can afford the chat GPT. So I think it's a great thing.
Paul.
Yeah, my only question is, when am I ever going to get sick? I've never been sick in my whole life. I didn't get COVID. I've never had the flu or anything, but I am starting to experience a little bit of joint pain, slight arthritis and some memory loss. So I think that AI and robotics will really assist me in overcoming some of those things. And I'm using Amazon to connect with medical people. They have a thing where you can search out doctors in your area. And then my Apple Watch, I use it all the time for fitness activities. They've got a great fitness program, although I don't think the Apple Watch is very accurate at measuring exercise.
Tamara. You're on mute, Tamara.
I think one thing we should definitely remind everybody is that this is not a replacement for a doctor. I will tell you one of the best ways I have used it, and I've even said, I do not need a doctor, I do not need diagnosis, but here's the information that I received. What questions should I ask my doctor? And it really came up with a list of questions that I just, honestly, when I was reading all the data, I just wouldn't have thought about those things. So I think if we can start moving into more education as to not just here these tools are here, but what might you do? What might you ask? And I do think that that's something ChatGPT is very good at. It comes to the end of analyzing something, and then it guides you to different kinds of things. And I think that that is where something that is really trained on health data, really, that can really guide someone who doesn't know, like, what can I come in with what questions should I be asking? Because you just don't know if you're facing a medical issue. And a lot of times when you go into the doctor, even though you've thought about it ahead of time, that's why you have to bring a friend or like tape it or something so that you really have access to your full capability to understand and comprehend and ask good questions and get all the things that you want talked about. And that's where I think this is a really valuable tool.
The Peter Sargent is reflected on why Chat is putting this in its sort of a little walled garden in its own separate place, and he's probably right. He says that it's to work with HIPAA compliance, to be HIPAA compliant. The challenge with, and I'm not sure about that, is that HIPAA really only applies to medical institutions. It's and I'm not sure that ChatGPT falls into that category, but either way, I think it certainly would be, it will be a vital comfort to the users to know that, that your data is safe. And Tlelek is asking, and this is just, such a fantastic point. Why would you give something with so much slop power your health? I mean, you said before, Sky, that you're not even sure who's who and is it worth watching and trust and all this stuff. I mean, why are we giving more important, serious data over to these tools that?
Well, it's to be better informed. And this is where Tamara's point is asking better questions. and when I'm talking about giving this information, I'm using it as an agent. I'm not giving it the keys to the kingdom, but I am asking it good questions that it has the ability to again, Lois's question of where does it come from? No, you're right. One of the questions I asked perplexly went out to 18 different sources. I can't look up that many things in all the books, whatever library I walk into, and I'm not paying. Remember, there used to be those research things that were, those were Nexus Lexus, hundreds of dollars per question, per source. So now that I don't want to be ignorant. You're not wrong. At the same time, and to Lalik's point is, if I am only taking the advice of the robot, then yes, shame on me.
Right.
But
Tony.
Tamara's point is, ask good questions.
Yeah.
Mo better questions.
Tony,
I just wanted to add. That I think the importance of a situation like this tool is that there's a need for redundancy, that you check out more. Even though you might be using the health chat GPT, that you would also consult other AIs that might be, and just see which one. Does it agree with that, or why doesn't it agree with that? I think that's important. And the last thing I want to say is that as a person who fell on their face and was home alone, the Apple Watch is a great tool because it called 911 for me, and I was able to get some help while I was home alone. So I just wanted to share that.
I mean, that's sort of, your Apple Watch is sort of an agentic robot. I mean, it doesn't have hands and legs, but it took action on its own based on input that it received, and it has saved lives. Yeah. Lois, go ahead.
So I think that when anyone starts using this ChatGPT Health, that it would be very wise to, in whatever questions you asked of it, say, and cite your sources. Tell me where you got the information that you're giving me. And I think one should do that all the time with anything that you're doing that has any factual needs. The other part is that it is something that I am going to use for general information. I'm going to use for specifics on a particular drug or whatever, but I don't plan to ask it, here's my conditions and list all those things and what should I don't want to trust it as I would a doctor. But I think it's going to be very useful, and I'm glad we got to talk about it.
I'll be really, really interested to play. I will be the guy who puts all of his data in there, but I do so on behalf of all of you. I risk myself for you,
David.
You're welcome.
You're the sacrificial lamb.
I'm very happy to try and help. All right, let's move on to the main topic. Now, this is something that we have talked about for 5 years now. Camera on, camera off, what's more important, audio versus video. But what I wanted to dive in today is thinking about the psychological effects of what we're doing and the positives to having a video first experience, the negatives to having a video first experience. And yes, we can certainly talk about, what is the experience like? Lois, I think it was you who put in our notes for today that the individual experience for the sender is very different than the individual experience for the receiver. And I think that's worth talking about also, because what's good for the goose is not always good for the gander in this case. But let me just start with maybe a not so technological question. And that is, what for you what do seeing a person and hearing a person, what does that do? How does that affect the presence of that person? So, for example, if you're just on the phone with someone versus if you're in a room with them, is the strength of the connection diminished because you don't have the visual, or is it just as strong? Sky, go ahead.
I'm all over that one because my CPA just said I can't be around humans. They carry germs and bugs. And so I'm only taking remote conversations. And it's like, we're talking about finances here. Again, another thing that I need help with, an expert to guide through, the horrible waters that are ahead. However, she also doesn't do Zoom. And so now it's like, I have now been disabled by two of my senses, by and I'm only having to do things. God forbid that I send her a text, because then nothing will get done and I'll really make bad choices and decisions. But now I'm the one that has to figure out how to write what are my questions so that we can have an hour-long phone conversation where we used to be in person and live, which is, again, in finding a trusted authority expert on something, which I called you, Paskin, a couple of weeks ago. I'm a sensory human. The eyes do interact even over this two-dimensional media. So yeah, I get a lot from visual.
Dave.
Some of the numbers you put up there as to who's comfortable on camera, off camera, we kind of know all this from the past. I mean, this is not news because there's a whole lot of people, and they test for this, that don't like getting up in front of a crowd, and they're just nervous as heck, and they can't even speak. And they're normally comfortable people and one-on-one environment, but when they get into a gallery, they're suddenly intimidated by the whole experience. And this is not new. This is something we will adjust to. This is something much like the telephone is an interruption, and we tolerate that. We now have text, which allows it to interrupt us. The phone calls we don't take anymore. But the sense of it is that we're just adjusting to this. And video with audio is much more persuasive than just audio. And I go to the tradition of McLuhan, which is that radio is a hot medium and video is a cool medium, and mixed together, they're lukewarm. So if you want to have a comfortable conversation with someone, you need to see their face. Though?
Can you explain hot, warm, and
sure,
cold?
I can do that. Hot media require you to manifest the message. That is, in radio, you're visualizing what they're talking about. They're describing something to you, but you're having to do more of that. The hotter medium is a book where you're not even sure what the tone of voice is. You make up your own. And when we get to movies and pictures and television, it's cool because it's all taken care of. We just sit back and let it roll over us. So when you mix hot with cold, you get medium. And Zoom has become quite medium. People are getting more and more comfortable with the idea of being on camera. Some of them are operating like we are to kind of present. And this becomes, of course, for me, a caution. All our young people have learned since Instagram came along to present themselves artificially. And they're now struggling with their authentic self. How do I find my authentic self? And I'm encountering this. People are asking me online what I know about authentic self. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is trending now, but it's because all this time they've had to present themselves and become a thing. And you and I both know we have different people for different situations. In front of my uncles and aunts, I'm, 13 years old. And in front of my parents, I'm a different age. And when I'm at, official gatherings or whatever, I'm a quiet voice. But when I'm asked to get up and present, I'm a strong and determined voice. So these other ways of presenting ourselves get limited a little bit. But I think things like Zoom, which is more simultaneous and what I call a shared information space, allows us to do and learn how to be comfortable in front of other people and other ideas and get us to this asynchronous stuff where it's all text or comments or Twitters allows for that gap, which is where rage bait comes from.
Andre put in the chat that he thinks it depends on how good you know a person. He can talk for hours on phone with my best friend and we don't miss a beat. I think that's absolutely true. Dave, go ahead.
And without Zoom, I'd have to go to Calgary, and it's really cold up there.
It's very cold
Really,
up there.
really
By the
cold.
way, Dave, we're going to be what you were talking about how we see ourselves, how we value ourselves, all of that, how we judge ourselves. That's next week. So stick.
I got ahead of myself here.
Stick around for that.
Can I just do one thing here?
Please.
I saw Sky in the notes write fight or flight, and I couldn't let it go here. Fight or flight is a biological phenomenon, not a psychological phenomenon. It's wired in. We're not developing it. It's in us when we're born. So yeah, it's biological.
And what does that have to do with this conversation, though?
Well, you were talking about fight or flight as a reaction that people have to being on Zoom. They get nervous and anxiety builds in, and they get fight or flight, and they freeze up. So that's what you were writing, and I just wanted
But
to
you don't
point
think
out,
that you don't think that happens?
that's not a thing that doesn't exist. It's just not psychological. It's biological.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
It's
Lois.
about surviving. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you introduced this question and you said your choice was phone or in person, and I'm going, no. This is three things. There is voice only, and then there is a mechanical interaction with voice and video, and then there's in person. Because the in-person has the actual physical, the pheromones, all of the stuff that happens between two people when they're in the same room. And I don't think that's what we're going to be talking about here, because if we're talking about camera on or camera off, there is no moving to the same room with you. So hopefully you'll reframe the question a little bit and we can talk about camera on.
Well, why don't you reframe it for me? How would you frame it?
So when we are attempting to communicate online through this mechanical medium, we have a choice. Everyone who comes onto this Zoom meeting or any Zoom meeting has a choice. You can choose to phone up with a telephone, and there is no opportunity for video at all. You can't see them and they can't see you. Or you can come on where you can see them, but you turn off your own camera and they can't see you. So that's a sort of a hide behind the pillar and sneak around the corner and watch people. And then there's everybody. Some people have their cameras on. You can see the people with the cameras on and they can see you. So I think the question of camera on or camera off has to do with how the person whose camera is being turned on or off feels and has that core personality of, do I want to hide or do I want to show myself? And then there's always the thing about, okay, I'm going to be in this meeting, but I'm going to be eating my lunch. It would be rude to show you with my mouth moving, so I'll turn my camera off while I eat. Or I'm going to turn the camera off because I'm going to go in the other room and play a game, and you won't know.
Yeah, and you know what, Lois, you just made me think that the first thought that came to my mind is that, wow, a person choosing to be seen and not just heard says a lot about the person.
Yeah.
But then I started to think, a person choosing to be heard and not seen, I said it backwards before, heard and not seen, also can say a tremendous amount about the experience that I'm inviting them to be a part of. For example, I go to meetings all the time in Zoom, and I don't turn my camera on because, frankly, I don't care about the meeting. It's boring. It's a waste of my time. I have to be there, and I have to, say something in the chat to get credit for having been there for the state or whatever. But I know it's going to be a waste of my time. I'm doing lots of other things at the same time. I'm not going to give them the pleasure of seeing my face. And that came off much harsher than it needed to. But
It
Quite
did,
right.
certainly
No,
did.
we all have boring
understand.
meetings and that sort of
Everyone
thing.
who's in a meeting
Right.
with David now.
Right. No, but the point is that if sometimes not turning my camera on is a reflection of where I am, how I'm feeling.
statement,
Sometimes it's a
yeah.
reflection of the respect that I have for you. And I think that
But it's still you making the choice. It's still
of
you
course,
turning on
absolutely.
and
Oh,
off that
yes.
camera. That's different than going into a meeting where it has been set that no one can show their face. Everyone's
Right.
camera is off. That's a totally different thing. I think what we're talking on is the choice. Now, what happens to Tamara when Lois turns off her camera? And it's like, I'm there, I'm hiding.
Right.
And how does it feel? Does it feel like I'm paying attention to you? Does it feel like you're heard? Does it feel like you think I'm me? How does the recipient feel when the sender makes that choice?
Yeah. So Tamara, let me send it over to you.
So I think one of the things for me is that our instinct is to rank these is in high first, second, third, like what is best. And I'm not sure that that's kind of the way to go, because I think that if you look at kind of the history of things like telephone use, we changed from not having telephones to having telephones. And we've looked at like the lexicon that has been created in chats that is a completely different form of the English language or not the English language to express ourselves. So I'm not sure that I agree that an experience like you turning your camera off really is dependent on the context of the room. So I've had jobs where everybody was forced to turn their camera on and it was a miserable experience for everybody. I actually have screen captures of it and I would share it, except that it would be very unfair to any of my coworkers, because every single person in every single meeting looks miserable. And I've also had a really great experience where it was optional whether you turned your camera on, and people knew that someone turning their camera on did not make them less than, it made them more comfortable. And with that is the universal acceptance in an organization, then it is a completely different experience when someone doesn't have their camera on and you have your camera on. It isn't offensive. It is making space for someone to be their most authentic self, and that may be not on camera. And so I have pictures of me even when we first went into Zoom, and I look horrified, and I had to really work to get comfortable on camera. And but not everybody is. And so for me, I don't really see it as one is better than the other. I see it as this is a new form. I think we're going to see that our lexicon has changed in terms of how we talk to each other, how we relate to each other. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be, but it's not.
Dave, go ahead.
Well, I was looking at Tony on the list here, so I
Yeah.
wasn't quite ready. But anyway.
Oh, I skipped Tony. Tony,
That's okay.
I'm sorry, Tony. I'll
But
come back to you. I'll hit
I
you next,
defer.
Tony.
Tony, take it away.
No,
No?
I just I just wanted to push back just a little bit on Andre's comment about his conversation with his best friend. They have had years of interaction between them. And so it's not a far leap for them to be able to engage in a conversation over the phone for several hours, because they have that experience of being in the same place for a long period of time. So I think that's part of why that works. The other thing that I wanted to say is that I have had some of the most authentic interactions with people in the visual space. And I would say because of those experiences, the fact that I have had chances to actually meet those people that I had authentic relationships with in person made the connection that I had with those people that was authentically possible through a visual and audio method makes the relationship even stronger. And so I think that you have to understand that all of us work hard for our audio, and our video to look present. And conversely, the house of worship that I work with, it's like pulling teeth to get people to turn their cameras on. And those that turn the cameras on, they will only turn the camera on if they are participating in some way. And when they finish, they immediately turn their cameras off. So
Tony,
it's
what is that about? I mean, because I have that experience also. I mean, those folks are more certainly present. I mean, they're praying, they're participating. It's not that they're disappearing. What is it about that visual piece that
they are uncomfortable? But I can say that the group of people that I'm dealing with, they are uncomfortable with it. And they are, it's not just the video, they're uncomfortable with technology, period. And so because they are uncomfortable with technology, they just see this as something else that they have to do. And they're only going to turn their camera on. Like, we get this big campaign, turn the cameras, and I'll be transparent and say this, and probably nobody from the house of worship is watching, so I'll get away with saying this. We have a senior citizens group that comes in on a laptop, and they are in their room that's a part of the campus. I can't think of what you would call it. But the bonus room, anyway, they're in this room, and there's one laptop, and there's 8 or 9 people, most of them in wheelchairs, that are
huddled around that laptop. Yeah.
Huddled around the laptop, and they are engaged and participating. Yeah. And then we have people in their individual homes who don't turn their cameras on. So it's an interesting thing.
It is interesting, and I can't help but think that part of the reason why people are more engaged in that room is because there are other physical human beings around them, and that there's a sort of a social contract that keeps us accountable. Dave and Lois, go ahead.
Sure. As to what Lois said earlier, yes, we choose to be here. I mean, I prepared to be here. I worked some hours today to read everybody's stuff and get ready for the show. But we also decided to look good doing it, and we also made an effort. So we've been coaching each other and all the rest, and the ruthless reviews have helped us. But your average person is not happy getting up in front of the congregation, and they don't want to do it on Zoom, so they leave their camera off. I think it's a privilege to do that, but I'm also mindful of what Sky wrote in terms of sacred spaces. A church is a sacred space, and you behave differently in it. There's what we call reverence for what is happening here with the whole congregation. I don't think we're getting the same feel through Zoom calls. We're getting a more face-to-face with the pastor. We're getting more of the choir right up close. I don't get that when I'm at church because I don't sit in the front row. I guess I sense that we're looking at people's feelings matter, and they matter in the sense that they won't do certain things. They'll talk to their friend on a phone, but they won't spend a lot of time with the salesman. So I think it's quite obvious we've adapted to those kind of technologies, and we're going to adapt to the technology here. But I think when you're looking at a gallery, it's very distracting. It really is. Like, if you've got 48 people on the screen, you tend not to listen. You tend to look around at what people are doing, or why is that mic, why is that camera not on? And why is this person not muted? And it kind of gets you into the tech instead of what you're here to do, which is to exchange things. Your presentation here, David, is controlled in a way that allows us to have a conversation, not just to answer questions or to present things or be knowledgeable and all the rest. We just give you our opinion. And it's really wonderful to be able to do this. And I think it's why we keep coming back. It's fulfilling for us. It gives us a context sense. It gives us a substantial conversation for us old people. It keeps our brains awake. This sort of thing is not television. This is participating with other people. But what we've been trained to do is just accept things. And the flattening of the world that Sky has talked about it was a leap forward that we're still trying to cross the chasm. We haven't landed on the other shore yet. We're still trying to figure out how we got into this and what we're going to make it work for us and how we're going to use it. So, and back to what Alex Lindsay is always talking about, the better you look on camera, the more people pay attention to what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Lois.
So Tony's comment about people turning on the camera when they're going to talk and then turning back on. I think that has a lot to do with, like in church, if you're going to give ministry, you're going to stand up and you're going to speak out, and then you're going to sit down and listen. And so I have a feeling that calling attention to yourself is how some people view turning on a camera for them. And people have cameras on and off for lots of different reasons. I don't think we're going to get to any consensus like you were talking about in the document that we all read. Everybody's different, and so, well, that's life.
Yeah, everyone's different, and Peter is also pointing out that for COPA compliance, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Peter. That there are meetings where attendees are denied, as you mentioned, denied to have the ability to turn their cameras on, and they can't have DMs. They can't direct message one another either. So, and there are certainly cases where that has, for whatever reason, that has to be the rule of the Zoom. I'm struck, and Paul, I'm coming to you next, and then Tamara. I'm struck by what you just said about the distraction of the Zoom gallery. Because I mean, I don't disagree with that. The first thought that came to my head is, well, if I'm in a room with lots of other people, I'm distracted by all those people also. I'm people watching.
Somebody sneezes over here and I can't,
right. And that's more of a reflection of the fact that whoever's doing the presenting is boring me to death. And so I'm
not engaging us. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that the problem there is the gallery as much as it is
but it's the formal structure, right? It's more like a meeting here than it is a conversation in a room full of people all drinking coffee together.
But even here, even
has
in this,
lunch with
even in
those
this
people
panel,
and gets to know them. Yeah.
But even in this panel, right? When I go for a while without saying something, I yawn. There's something about us. We like hearing ourselves. We like being
Sometimes.
the active part of, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Let me get Paul in here. Go ahead, Paul and Tamara.
Well, I grew up in a kind of a different world because I became a ham radio operator 50 years ago. And in ham radio, we have what's known as a QSO, which is also called a QSO, where everybody's talking on the radio, but they're using push to talk. You have to key up a microphone and then you talk. So you have to be really careful not to key up over somebody else. And when you are keyed up, you're not hearing anyone else. You're just talking and you don't have any feedback. So what's evolved in ham radio is there's like a round robin. It's kind of like a organic thing where Joe talks and then Pete talks and then Phil talks and then Joe talks again, and it goes around in a circle. Now, when I made the jump from ham radio to Zoom, all of a sudden now there's this two more dimensions. I can see everybody and I can hear everybody. And if I'm talking and somebody else is talking at the same time, I can hear them while I'm talking. It's full duplex. So I think in the larger community of other shows, I won't name what they are, I think there's an obsession with this thing about staring at the camera, looking directly at the camera. I'm terrible at that. I have never mastered being able to stare at a camera with, robotic like looking at a camera. I just don't think it's natural. And that's evolves out of that ham radio round robin thing, where you didn't have to look at a camera. I didn't look at a camera for 40 years. Anyway, that's my piece.
Well, the beauty of the what's the official word? Not the telestrator. The
Teleprompter.
Teleprompter.
no, not. There's another word. The Interatron. Is it the Interatron? Is that what it is?
Interatron, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's
Two faces,
really
yeah.
what a lot of us are using this for. We're not really using it to read scripts. We're using it to look at the other people. So the whole purpose of that, Paul, is because, like you said, looking at a camera is really odd and strange and uncomfortable. I can't even see my camera. I don't even know where it is. All I see is you all. And the way I think of it is, I'm going to stare at you as much as I would stare at you if you were right in front of me. And that, sometimes I look off to the side, and that's very natural to do that. I'm thinking about Wayne Fox was heard something on Tuesday's panel, which is really interesting, that the judge said that he's a better assessor of credibility via Zoom than in person. And that got me thinking about what we're able to see or hear or glean from the other person using either video or audio. With video, we can see facial expression. We can see more emotion. As soon as we turn video off, though, we don't have the distraction that Dave said of all the video, and we can really listen. It's a fascinating challenge. Tamara.
I think one of the things we haven't really talked about is that one of the differences about a Zoom meeting and an in-person meeting is that when you go to an in-person meeting, you're in a conference room and you see like the people from the side of you by their side, and you see the people across from you straight on. You don't see everyone in the meeting equal. And when you see a meeting in a Zoom space, like a gallery view, everybody is front on equal. But the one thing that's very different is that we're not just seeing the people, we're seeing their environment. And we all have environments that we have completely set up and that we are comfortable in, and whatever that looks like, it's a manufacturer. But in an average Zoom meeting where most of the people are not us, you are entering into their personal space. And I think that sometimes when we're talking about camera on and camera off, we're talking about that invitation into not just me on camera, but me in a personal space. And I think that's another layer that is very different in Zoom. And I love it. I love when people show me into their even the tiniest amount of window, whether it's curated or not, because I feel like that shows a lot of personality. But there's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with that.
I could not. Oh, where'd you go?
I disappeared.
You're not there. Why aren't you there? Wait, I have to put you there. I couldn't agree more. And I remember early on, when I would be teaching a class, and I would get distracted by a beautiful piece of art behind the person or the cat climb. I always call that stuff out. And to me, that makes it even more personal. It makes it even more of a connection, because like you said, I've been invited into your personal space, and now I'm going to celebrate that with you. I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to name it, and I'm going to celebrate it.
But that might not be comfortable for everybody, right? That might be something
Agreed.
where,
Sure.
where it's like, I'm not just putting myself on camera, I'm putting other things on camera. You don't
Right.
know what's off camera in my world.
Right.
You know what I have chosen to show you. But so I think that's, and I remember doing audition events where I'd be like, hey, you might take the underwear off the bed before you do your audition.
Yeah. Right. There is another thing that we all see in Zoom meetings that we don't see when we're face to face, and that is ourselves. Most people don't turn off self-view. And so they are not only staring at all the other people in the meeting, but they're staring at themselves, which is a whole other piece of this conversation, when visual is not just of another, but of ourselves, when audio isn't just of another, but of ourselves. Let me get Lois and Sky and Tony, then we're going to wrap. Lois.
So one of the things about a Zoom meeting, and that's really where most of this online interaction is, as far as I'm concerned. You, the individual, on your computer or your device, you have control of so many things. If you don't want to see your face, there's a button you can push, and now I won't ever see myself again. Of course, that doesn't work on this panel because David is controlling it. But for a normal meeting, you can turn your own video off. If you are getting distracted by someone else having that swaying palm tree in the back, you can close your eyes. You don't have to look at them. If you don't like gallery view, you can put it on speaker view, or you can pin one person so that you only see them and the other things are little tiny stuff. So you have control. And if you really don't want to have anybody see you and you don't want to see anybody else, there's a phone for you.
Or just don't go to the meeting, for goodness sakes, at that point. Sky, go ahead.
Well, when we were filming the Teachers Association, cooking along with Madeline Smithberg, we had probably 50 people. And there was one guy, somehow Facebook put him right in the middle. And he just kept yawning. And then he fell asleep in the middle of the presentation. It's like, oh, thank you. But so that's the challenge of live TV. I realize, though, you are helping me reflect on myself because, Paskin, go ahead and put me back in the group. Put me back in the room, please. Hi, room. Each of you have different histories, traditions. And when Troutman, you mentioned things that are
Sacred?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
we're losing you.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Hey, you're there. You're there.
And when you touch that part of the cable, you disconnect the connection of the connector. But each of us, I mean, Tony, I've been to your houses of worship with that group of people, and the traditions are so, we want repetitive because we're looking for connection with things beyond ourselves, right? Now, if somebody, different rabbit trail there about what we wear and what that statement is, especially in the South, that I noticed. But I've been in the tradition of Paskin's people group, and I've been in the traditions of Tamara's people group, and I've been in Texas. That's a whole different people group. So we have traditions that we want to hold on to. And what I guess I heard all throughout today was we have these traditions that we want to be comfortable in. And this is where, Troutman, you pointed out that fight or flight is biological. Today, it was referred to as a part of our nervous system.
It's
And I'm going to
neurological,
be
yes.
exploring that a lot.
I like that.
Because it's inherent of who we are. We want things to be normal. And when they're not, that's when the fight or flight comes in and we want to survive. So, Paskin, that you and I can be in front of a crowd. I'd forgotten I've got 14,000 performance credits in front of people. It actually was more difficult for me to be on the other side of the pulpit than in behind it, looking at the crowd. And so that you now choose to go away, that again, what is it that is sacred? But again, I think back to Tony, and I'll toss it to him, is where is the human component in all of this? And this technology needs to support us, whether it's a robot, a lens, a microphone, but each of you humans are important to me. And I'm grateful for this technology. And I'm not in Canada.
Tony, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I am thankful for this technology. 25 years ago, maybe, or even more, the things that I have going on with myself in terms of health issues and that kind of thing, if it were not for this technology, I would not be able to participate in a lot of the things that I am doing now. And I just want to say that I'm extremely thankful for this technology because I have this opportunity to interact with you guys. I have, my show, Conversation with Tony Mobley, participate in office hours and after hours and all of these different things that I can be a part of because this technology exists. And there was a time with everything, as I said, that was going on with me, that I'd just be a shut-in, and there would be no interaction. There would be nothing, you know. And so I am able to engage and have great conversations, authentic conversations. And I just want to say that I am thankful to be alive at this time, to be able to participate in these technologies.
Amen, as we say in the old country. You know, there's a lot of the psychology that we didn't get to. I'm thinking about just in Zoom alone, gallery view versus speaker view. When someone is spotlit, how that creates a hierarchy. Virtual backgrounds can increase camera comfort. How reactions, chat, and polls preserve engagement without visibility. I mean, there's so much here. We'll have to come back to it, but I think that we spend a tremendous amount of time, for good reason, making sure that we look and sound good. And the way that you framed it, Tamara, for me was important, and that is that there's more to this than, first of all, we're not normal. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that there's more to this than just our faces on screen. We're putting our souls, our homes, our environments, a lot of us. It is a very vulnerable place to be for a lot of people, to have their voice and their vision seen and shared with others. It's also a privilege for us to be able to be a part of that and to help people do good work with that. So grateful. Even though we didn't hear you or see you, you were very much present. Steve and Tlalak, and I have to look in too many different places, Peter and Andre and Wayne, John Wallace, everyone who's watching in Mukana and on YouTube. So grateful that you're here. And I'm thankful to all the tools that allow us to have those connections, even when the visual and the auditory isn't there. So on behalf of this entire beautiful panel, thank you for joining us. We will see you next week on The Rundown. Bye, everyone.
There's the music.
Powered by